Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting creative, but not in the way you might think.
Right, we're not talking about learning to paint a pretty picture or sculpt something impressive, though you might end up doing that too.
Yeah, today it's all about art therapy. Specifically, all the different techniques and applications laid out in Susan I. Buchalter's book, Art Therapy Techniques and Applications, a model for practice. It's from 2009.
Yeah, I mean, the sheer range of techniques described in this book is mind-blowing. There's really something for everyone and every need.
And that's precisely what makes this deep dive so fascinating. We're unearthing practical insights into how creative expression, no matter your skill level, can help you better understand yourself, navigate challenges, and even find solutions you might not have seen before.
You got it. And what's so powerful about art therapy is that it bypasses our usual ways of thinking. We're so used to trying to solve problems with our minds, overthinking everything.
Oh yeah, I'm so guilty of that. But art therapy taps into a different part of us, a more intuitive, emotional, and often nonverbal part.
Precisely. And that's where the real breakthroughs can happen.
So let's dive into some of these techniques. Buchalter kicks things off with a section on warm-ups. These aren't your typical stretches.
Haha, no jumping jacks here. But they serve a similar purpose to get you ready, to loosen you up, and to get you comfortable with the creative process.
Exactly. They're generally quick activities, like 5 to 10 minutes long, designed to ease you into expressing yourself through art. And many of them focus on drawing, which can sometimes feel less intimidating than other forms of art.
Oh, for sure. I think a lot of people have that I can't draw voice in their heads. But in art therapy, it's not about creating a masterpiece. It's about using the process to explore your inner landscape.
One warm-up that caught my eye is called Moods Warm-Up. All you need are some magazines, scissors, glue, and construction paper. The task is to find a photo that represents your current mood, cut it out, and then choose a piece of construction paper that to you symbolizes that mood. You glue the photo onto the paper, and then the discussion centers around why you chose that particular photo and that color. It's such a simple yet powerful way to get in touch with how you're feeling.
Right. It's not about analyzing your mood. It's about feeling it, expressing it without needing to find the perfect words.
Exactly. And sometimes the colors and images we're drawn to can reveal things about our emotional state that we might not even be consciously aware of.
Oh, absolutely. There was this one client I worked with. She was going through a divorce and feeling incredibly lost. During a moods warm-up, she chose a photo of a dark, stormy sea, and without even realizing it, she glued it onto a piece of deep blue construction paper. When we started talking about it, she realized that the color blue, for her, represented both sadness and a sense of being overwhelmed, which perfectly captured what she was experiencing.
Wow, that's a great example of how these seemingly simple exercises can tap into something much deeper. And it sounds like it helped her gain a new level of awareness about her own emotional state.
Exactly. It gave her a visual anchor for those feelings, a way to acknowledge and process them.
Another warm-up that caught my attention is the heart.
Ah, that one's beautiful in its simplicity.
You take a piece of paper, fold it in half, draw half a heart on one side, and then on the other side, you draw the person you want to give your love to. The discussion then revolves around relationships, love, and caring.
It's so direct, isn't it? It really gets to the heart of, well, the heart. And I think it can be especially meaningful for people who struggle to express affection verbally. It gives them a way to show their love through action.
I can see that. And even for those who are comfortable expressing love verbally, there's something so tangible and symbolic about actually creating a visual representation of that connection.
Exactly. And I've found that sometimes the act of drawing that heart can release some pretty intense emotions. Tears, laughter, even anger sometimes, depending on the individual's experience with love and relationships.
That makes sense. It's a direct line to some pretty powerful stuff. Yeah, there's one more warm-up in this section I wanted to touch on. Draw conflict.
Oh, that's a good one.
This one's a bit more abstract. You take your drawing paper and your choice of pastels, crayons, or markers. And the instruction is to spontaneously draw conflict using line, shape, and color. No real-life objects, just the feeling of conflict expressed abstractly. And then the discussion explores the feelings associated with that conflict, even if it's not directly depicted in the drawing.
Right. And this can be especially helpful for folks who have a hard time putting their conflicts into words. Sometimes it's easier to start with a feeling and let it flow out onto the paper and then try to make sense of it.
So if someone's listening and they've been struggling with a conflict they can't quite articulate, this could be a really valuable tool for them to try. What sorts of things might emerge in their drawing, do you think?
Well, it could be anything. Jagged lines, clashing colors, maybe a sense of being trapped or constricted. I once had a client draw a series of sharp, intersecting lines that, to him, represented the constant arguments he was having with his boss.
That's so interesting, and it's fascinating how those abstract elements can hold so much emotional weight.
Absolutely. And what's great about the discussion afterwards is that it provides a safe space to explore those feelings and start to make connections between the abstract representation and the real life conflict.
All right, let's move on to a set of techniques that I think will resonate with a lot of our listeners. Mindfulness techniques. Now, mindfulness is all about paying attention to the present moment without judgment, and incorporating art into the practice can make it even more engaging and accessible.
Totally. I've found that for many people, art provides a tangible anchor for their attention, making it easier to stay present.
It's like it gives your mind something to do while you're focusing on the present moment, which can be really helpful for those of us who tend to get lost in thought.
Uh-huh. Yeah, those overthinkers out there.
Yeah,
But seriously, the sensory experiences involved in creating art, the feel of the materials, the colors, the movements, it can really draw you into the here and now.
exactly. So one technique Buchalter describes is called loving breath. You need some drawing paper and colored pencils for this one. You start by drawing a heart in the center of the paper, and then as you inhale and exhale, you draw lines extending outward from the heart. Each color you use represents someone you love, and the act of drawing becomes a visual representation of breathing in and out love.
It's like you're breathing life into that heart. And I love the symbolism of connecting each color to someone you care about.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And the discussion afterwards focuses on connecting with those loved ones and allowing yourself to experience those loving feelings fully.
I've used this technique with clients who are struggling with grief or loss, and it can be incredibly powerful. It helps them reconnect with those feelings of love, even in the midst of their pain.
That's so moving. It's a reminder that love can still be present even when someone is physically gone.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of connecting with the present moment, there's another technique called mindful observation, painting. This one uses watercolor paper and either tempera or watercolor paints.
Oh, I love watercolors. So soothing to work with.
They really are, and that's part of what makes this technique so effective. The focus is on the sensory experience of the brush and the paint on the paper. You're simply observing the strokes, the colors, and the shapes that emerge without any judgment. It's not about creating a beautiful painting. It's about being present with the process.
I can see how that would be really calming. It's like taking a break from all the mental chatter and just focusing on the physical sensations of the moment.
Exactly. And the discussion afterwards centers on how well you were able to observe the experience without getting caught up in judgment or self-criticism. Did you notice the way the paint flowed? The subtle changes in color, the textures that emerged. It's all about cultivating that non-judgmental awareness.
So much of our lives is spent rushing from one thing to the next, barely paying attention to what we're doing. I think this technique could be a valuable reminder to slow down and savor the simple act of creation.
Couldn't agree more. And it's something you can practice in everyday life, too, not just with art. Like when you're washing dishes, you can focus on the feel of the water, the warmth, the soap suds. It's all about bringing that mindful awareness to whatever you're doing.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about Mindful Mandala 1. This one uses a paper plate to trace a circle on drawing paper, and then you just fill it in with colors and designs using whatever you have, crayons, oil pastels, markers, pencils, anything goes.
The beauty of this exercise is that there's no pre-planning, no right or wrong way to do it. You're just letting your hand move freely and intuitively, allowing the colors and patterns to emerge organically.
So it's a different kind of letting go, not letting go of judgment like in the watercolor exercise,
Yeah.
but letting go of the need to plan and control the outcome.
Right. It's about embracing the creative process without overthinking it, which can be incredibly liberating and stress-reducing.
And speaking of stress reduction, let's talk about Sand Tray 1. This was really unique. It uses a paper bowl filled with sand, and you create tactile designs in the sand using small objects like gravel, leaves, marbles, acorns, pine cones, whatever you have on hand.
It's playing in the sandbox, but for adults, it's such a playful way to explore texture and form, and it can be incredibly grounding, especially for people who are more kinesthetic learners.
I can see that. And what I love about this technique is that it encourages you to close your eyes and experience the art just through touch. It's taking away the visual element, which can sometimes be so dominant, and really tuning into those tactile sensations.
Exactly. It's about connecting with a different sense, a different way of experiencing art in the world around you. And the discussion afterwards focuses on how it felt to create something purely through touch, without the visual feedback.
I bet that's incredibly insightful. It's like you're stripping away all the layers of visual judgment and just being present with the raw sensations.
Precisely. It can be quite a powerful experience.
The last mindfulness technique I wanted to touch on is aroma in art too. This one's all about engaging your sense of smell. You use gentle scents like vanilla, cinnamon, lemon, coffee, anything that appeals to you. And then you spend some time drawing colors and shapes that are evoked by the aroma, using markers, oil pastels, or crayons.
It's fascinating how scents can trigger such vivid memories and emotions, and this exercise allows you to translate those sensory experiences into visual art.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, like, the smell of cinnamon always reminds me of Christmas morning as a kid, and I can just imagine the warm, vibrant colors I would use to depict that feeling.
Exactly. It's about finding a way to express those intangible sensations through a different medium. And the discussion afterwards focuses on how the scents influenced your art, what emotions they evoked, and how you were able to translate those sensations into visual form.
It's like a cross-sensory exploration. I love it. Now, let's shift gears a bit and dive into drawing techniques for self-exploration.
This is where things get really interesting.
So as we mentioned earlier, art therapy isn't just about creating art for art's sake. It's about using the creative process as a tool for self-discovery, understanding, and healing.
Right. The artwork becomes a tangible representation of your inner world, your thoughts, feelings, and experiences. And drawing, in particular, can be a really accessible and non-threatening way to communicate those things, especially for people who find it difficult to express themselves verbally.
I think a lot of us can relate to that. Sometimes it's easier to draw or paint something than to try and put it into words.
Absolutely. And with these drawing techniques, you're not just expressing yourself, you're actively exploring different aspects of your life, your relationships, your past, your future, your dreams, your fears. It's all on the table.
So let's start with a technique called ideal family. Pretty self-explanatory. You just draw your ideal family using drawing paper and your choice of coloring tools.
And this can be really revealing even for people who think they have a pretty good grasp on their family dynamics. It's amazing what can come up when you start to visualize your ideal scenario.
Like, are there people in your drawing who aren't actually part of your biological family?
Exactly. Or maybe you're drawing yourself in a different role, or your family members are interacting in ways that they don't in real life. The discussion afterwards explores all of these nuances, helping you gain a deeper understanding of your family dynamics and the roles people play in your life.
It's like holding up a mirror to your subconscious desires and expectations for your family.
Precisely. And sometimes those desires and expectations are in direct conflict with reality, which can be a valuable starting point for exploring areas of tension or dissatisfaction.
That's so interesting. It's like the drawing provides a safe space to explore those potentially challenging dynamics without feeling like you're directly confronting anyone.
Exactly. Now, another drawing technique that I find really powerful is life essentials.
Oh, this one sounds intriguing.
It's pretty simple. You get a designated space on your drawing paper, and the task is to draw the essential items for your life, the things you absolutely need to survive and thrive.
Oh, I like this one. I could already feel my brain starting to categorize things like, okay, I need food, water, shelter, but then what? What else is truly essential for me?
Exactly. It really gets you thinking about your values and priorities.
Mhm.
Is it a strong support system, a creative outlet, a sense of purpose? What are those non-negotiables for you? And the discussion afterwards helps you flesh out those priorities and identify any areas where you might be lacking or where you might want to make some changes.
It's like a visual representation of your personal hierarchy of needs.
I love that analogy. It really is. And sometimes what emerges in the drawing can be surprising, even to the person creating it. They might realize that they've been prioritizing things that aren't truly essential to their well-being while neglecting other areas that are crucial for their happiness and fulfillment.
That's a great point. It's like the drawing can help you see things from a different perspective and get a clearer sense of what truly matters.
Exactly. Now, for those of you who are interested in exploring your romantic relationships, there is a technique called complete the figure. This one uses pre-drawn stick figures, which can be less intimidating than drawing a whole person from scratch.
Oh, I like that. Stick figures I can handle.
Yeah.
So what do you do with these stick figures?
Well, you get to play fashion designer. You complete the figure by adding a face, hair, clothes, accessories, whatever you like. And then on the same sheet of paper, you write down the characteristics you desire in a partner.
Oh, that's interesting. So you're not just focusing on physical attributes, but also personality traits.
Exactly. It's about creating a holistic picture of your ideal partner. And the discussion afterwards can explore all sorts of things like patterns from past relationships, expectations for an ideal relationship, any discrepancies between what you say you want and what you actually draw. It can get pretty deep.
It's like you're decoding your own romantic blueprint.
Right. And sometimes those blueprints need a little revising, especially if they're based on old patterns or unrealistic expectations.
That makes a lot of sense.
Now, another drawing technique that I find really helpful for processing emotions is mandala.
Oh, I love mandalas. They're
Yeah,
so intricate and beautiful.
they are. And they can be incredibly therapeutic, too. In this exercise, you use pre-drawn mandalas, so you don't have to worry about creating the perfect circle or getting the symmetry right.
That's a relief. My mandalas always end up looking a bit wonky.
Haha, well, that's part of the beauty of art therapy. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, you get to fill in the mandala with colors and shapes that represent emotions you're experiencing or have experienced in the past.
So it's a way to externalize and visualize those emotions, even the ones that are difficult to talk about.
Exactly. And the act of coloring can be very meditative and soothing, helping to reduce stress and promote a sense of calm. The discussion afterwards focuses on the emotions represented in the mandala, what they mean to you, and how they're impacting your life.
It's like you're creating a visual map of your emotional landscape.
Exactly. And sometimes just seeing those emotions laid out in front of you can be enough to start processing them and finding ways to cope.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, this next technique is one that really sparks my imagination. Cloud's eye.
Oh, that's a fun one.
You get to draw a maze of clouds, including what might be in or at the end of the maze. You can include yourself in the picture or not. It's totally up to you.
It's all about using your imagination and seeing where your creativity takes you. And what's really interesting about this exercise is how the clouds are drawn and how you describe them. Are they big and fluffy or dark and stormy? Are they close together or spaced far apart?
So the way you depict the clouds can reveal a lot about how you view challenges and your ability to navigate them.
Precisely. And the discussion afterwards explores those connections, helping you to understand how your perceptions of obstacles might be impacting your life. Are you seeing things as insurmountable mountains or manageable molehills? Are you getting lost in the maze or finding your way through? It's all there in the clouds.
It's amazing how much symbolism and meaning can be packed into a seemingly simple image.
Right. And that's what makes art therapy so powerful. It allows us to tap into those deeper layers of meaning and understanding in a way that words often can't.
I'm really starting to see that. Okay, let's move on to the unknown. This one requires a bit of imagination. You fold your paper in half, and you imagine yourself walking through a dark wooded area. On one half of the paper, you draw what's behind you, representing the past, and on the other half, you draw what's in front of you, representing the future.
This technique is all about exploring your personal timeline and the feelings associated with the past and the future. What's lurking behind you in the darkness? What are you walking towards?
It sounds a bit like a psychological choose-your-own-adventure. And I can imagine that the imagery people use in their drawings can reveal a lot about their anxieties, hopes, and unresolved issues.
Oh, absolutely. Are you drawing a path ahead of you, or are you lost in the woods? Are there monsters behind you, or happy memories? It's a really rich way to tap into your subconscious and explore those deeper feelings.
Speaking of feelings, the next technique is called, well, feelings. This one's pretty straightforward. You fold your paper into thirds, and on each third, you draw someone you felt positive, neutral, and negative towards. The discussion afterwards helps to identify those different feelings and the individuals you associate with them.
This is a great way to become more aware of the range and intensity of your emotions and how they're connected to the people in your life.
So it's not just about identifying the feelings themselves, but also understanding the context and the relationships that they're tied to.
Exactly. It can help you see patterns in your emotional responses, like maybe you tend to have negative reactions to people who remind you of someone from your past, or maybe you're drawn to people who evoke certain positive feelings.
It's like mapping out your emotional ecosystem.
I love that. It really is.
Now, this next technique is a bit more whimsical. Beautiful memory. It uses paper doilies, those delicate, lacy things that you might see on cakes or under cookies.
Oh, I love those. They're so intricate and pretty.
Me too. And in this exercise, you get to fill in the intricate design of the doily with a beautiful memory.
It's such a beautiful way to visually represent a cherished experience. And the discussion afterwards focuses on those joyful experiences and encourages you to explore ways to attain happiness and fulfillment in your life by focusing on the positive.
I think we could all use a little more of that, dwelling on the good stuff instead of getting bogged down by the negative.
Exactly. And this technique is a great reminder to do just that. It's about training your brain to seek out and savor those moments of joy and beauty.
It's like creating a visual talisman for happiness. I love it.
Now, this next technique is one that can be really eye-opening, especially for folks who struggle with self-esteem. Best and worst self.
Ooh, that sounds intense.
It can be, but in a good way.
Yeah.
You take your paper and fold it in half, and on one side, you draw yourself at your best, the most confident, capable, and awesome version of yourself. And on the other side, you draw yourself at your worst, the version of yourself that you might try to hide from the world.
It's like confronting your shadow self.
Exactly. And the discussion afterwards explores the similarities and differences between these two self-perceptions, acknowledging your strengths and accepting your vulnerabilities.
It's a reminder that we're all complex beings with both light and shadow sides.
Precisely. And integrating those different aspects of ourselves is crucial for self-acceptance and growth.
Now, this next one's a little different. Hairdos. It's a fun and creative way to tap into memories associated with different periods of your life.
Oh, yeah, hair can be so symbolic. I had a client once who had a really traumatic experience in high school, and she always associated that time with the short, choppy haircut she had. Drawing it brought up a flood of emotions that she'd been suppressing.
That makes sense. We often link certain hairstyles to specific times and events in our lives. So in this technique, you simply draw the various hairstyles you've had throughout your life. You might have had a ponytail as a child, a bob in your teens, a pixie cut in your 20s, and so on.
It's like a visual timeline of your life, but told through hair. And the discussion afterwards can explore the connections between those hairstyles and the events that occurred during those life stages. It can spark some really interesting memories and insights.
It's like each hairstyle holds a piece of your personal history. I love that.
Now, here's another one that explores self-perception. Real and ideal self. This one involves folding your paper in half and drawing your genuine self on one side and your ideal self on the other.
So it's similar to the best and worst self technique, but instead of focusing on extremes, it's about exploring the gap between who you are and who you aspire to be.
Exactly. And the discussion can focus on realistic goal setting and self-acceptance. It's about recognizing that we all have room for growth while also appreciating and accepting who we are in this moment.
It's like a gentle nudge to keep striving towards our best selves without beating ourselves up for not being there yet.
Exactly. Now, this next one is a little more metaphorical. Armor. The idea is to draw your armor, what you use to protect yourself from the world, emotionally and psychologically. Buchalter gives some great examples in the book, like a client named Nancy, whose armor was her depression. It protected her from an unpleasant job and husband. And Jane, whose armor was her anger, represented by a large figure in red and gray armor.
Wow, those are powerful images. So the discussion explores these protective mechanisms and the underlying reasons for them. It's about understanding how we shield ourselves and whether those shields are still serving us or if they're actually holding us back.
Precisely. It can be a really eye-opening exercise, especially for folks who are unaware of the ways they protect themselves. And sometimes those protective mechanisms can be so ingrained that we don't even realize they're there until we start to visualize them.
That's a great point. It's like shining a light on those subconscious patterns that we might be unconsciously repeating.
Exactly. Okay, so let's lighten things up a bit with comfort object.
Whoa, this one sounds cozy.
It is. It's all about identifying sources of support and comfort in your life. So simply draw a comfort object. It could be a favorite blanket, a stuffed animal, a special piece of jewelry, anything that brings you a sense of peace and security.
I love that. It's like creating a visual reminder of those sources of strength that you can tap into when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed.
Exactly. And the discussion afterwards can explore those connections, helping you to understand why certain objects hold such significance for you and how you can use them to support your well-being.
So it's not just about drawing a pretty picture. It's about identifying those tangible sources of comfort that you can actually turn to in times of need.
Precisely.
Now, here's a technique that I think a lot of us could benefit from. Reframing. It involves drawing a stressful situation on one piece of paper, and then on another piece of paper, you sketch a pair of eyeglasses.
Eyeglasses. That's an interesting choice.
I know, right? But the eyeglasses represent someone whose opinion you respect, someone whose perspective you value.
Ah, I see where you're going with this. So you're looking at the stressful situation through the lens of someone else's perspective.
Exactly. And the discussion focuses on how you view the stressful situation and how this respected person might view it.
So it's about challenging your own perspective and considering alternative viewpoints.
Precisely. It's a great way to break out of those rigid thinking patterns and see things in a new light. And who knows, maybe that respected person's perspective will help you find a solution you hadn't considered before.
It's definitely a possibility. Sometimes all it takes is a shift in perspective to open up new possibilities.
Now here's one that's a bit more existential. Autobiography.
Oh, this one's fun.
You get to be your own biographer. But instead of writing your whole life story, you just create the book cover of your autobiography, including the title. The discussion afterward centers on how the cover and title reflect your life, your aspirations, your challenges, your triumphs, the whole shebang.
It's a really creative way to encapsulate your life story and reflect on the narrative you've created for yourself.
Yeah, and it could be really revealing too. What title do you choose? What imagery do you use on the cover? It all says something about how you see yourself and your place in the world.
Exactly. And the discussion can delve into some pretty deep questions like, are you satisfied with the story you've created so far? What chapters are you most proud of? What chapters would you like to rewrite? It's all about gaining a deeper understanding of your own personal narrative.
All right, let's shift gears a bit with Dancing in the Rain.
Ooh, I love this one. It's so uplifting and hopeful.
It really is. The task is simple. Draw yourself dancing in the rain. No need to get fancy or realistic. Just capture the feeling of joy and freedom that comes from embracing life's challenges.
It's about finding the silver lining, the beauty in the midst of the storm, and the discussion afterwards can explore those themes of resilience, finding joy in adversity, and remembering that even when things are tough, there's always something to celebrate.
It's a beautiful reminder that we don't have to let the rain dampen our spirits.
Exactly. Now, this next technique, customs, is a really interesting way to connect with your past and see how it's influencing your present.
Okay, tell me more.
The task is to draw a past custom or ritual that brought you pleasure, something you really enjoyed doing, and then connect it to a present pattern or habit. Buchalter gives the example of Stan, a withdrawn schizophrenic client, who drew himself eating snacks after school and then connected it to his current habit of munching on chips. He found a lot of pleasure in that connection between past and present.
That's so sweet. It's like finding a thread of continuity in your life, a way to see how your past joys are still shaping your present experiences.
Absolutely. And sometimes that recognition can be incredibly healing and empowering. It's a reminder that even if things have changed, there's still a part of you that's connected to those past experiences.
Now, speaking of connecting with the past, let's talk about draw yourself as a child. This one's pretty self-explanatory. You just draw a picture of yourself as a child. It sounds simple, but it can bring up a lot of emotions and insights.
Oh, for sure. It's amazing what can surface when you start to tap into those childhood memories. Buchalter shares some really poignant examples in the book, like Sophie, who felt so caged in her current life compared to the freedom she experienced as a child, and Mary, who felt like an outsider, always watching other children play, but never really joining in.
It's like you're reconnecting with that younger version of yourself, the one who might have been forgotten or neglected over the years.
Exactly. And the discussion afterwards can focus on identifying any lost aspects of the self, unmet needs from childhood, or even just appreciating the joys and innocence of that younger you.
It can be a really powerful journey of self-discovery.
Absolutely. Now let's explore a technique that's a bit more explosive, the volcano.
Oh, this one sounds intense.
It can be. The task is to draw a volcano. Simple as that. But then the discussion gets really interesting. It delves into the characteristics of the volcano, its size, formation time, what the lava represents, and all of that is connected to anger issues and how you express anger.
So it's a metaphor for the buildup and release of anger.
Exactly. Buchalter gives a great example in the book of a client named Max, who had some pretty explosive anger outbursts. Through his volcano drawing, he was able to explore those feelings in a safe and symbolic way, and he even came up with a fine system with his wife.
A fine system. I'm intrigued.
So whenever he felt like he was about to erupt, he would put $1 in a jar, and then at the end of the week, they would use that money to do something fun together. It was a way to acknowledge his anger, take responsibility for it, and channel it into something positive.
That's brilliant. It's turning that explosive energy into something constructive.
Exactly. Now let's shift gears again with support. This one's all about identifying and visualizing your support system.
Support systems are so crucial, especially when we're going through tough times.
Absolutely. So in this exercise, you draw the people or things that represent support in your life, as well as any periods when you've needed support. Buchalter shares a poignant example in the book of a client named Edna, who drew a large boulder as her support and herself as a tiny figure beside it.
Wow, that's a really powerful image. of feeling small and vulnerable in the face of a huge challenge.
It really is, and it highlights the importance of recognizing when we need to reach out for support, as well as appreciating the people and resources that are available to us.
Sometimes just knowing that support is there can make all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about balance. This one's pretty self-explanatory. You draw a picture representing balance.